When Soulja Boy hit us with Crank That in 2007, he and the popular dance that came along with it made its rounds around YouTube's platform before peeling off from the net and into the music industry. Dropping his debut album, SouljaBoyTellEm.com, not too long after, needless to say, Soulja Boy, along with his signature glasses, became a huge figure in the late 2000s, dropping hits like Donk, Bapes, and Pass It to A-Rap. His right-hand hype man and best friend A-Rap was everywhere Soulja Boy went, and at one point in time, but just as Soulja's career progressed, their friendship seemed to have declined, and before we knew it, A-Rap went M.I.A., never to be heard from again. Until now, that is. So, whatever happened to Soulja's once better half? Occurring in the last good years left of triple XL tees and shorts that went down to your knees, Soulja Boy came crashing onto the scene with his hit song, Crank That Soulja Boy, and took over and had everyone wanting to join in on all the fun. He may not have been officially the first to do it as he may claim, but without a doubt, Soulja Boy was the first to do it as far as we know when it came to using the internet as a marketing tool to further push his music. It wouldn't be until producer Mr. Collie Park out of College Park, Georgia, saw the hype via YouTube at a time when YouTube was just getting started that he scooped up Soulja before anybody else could. Living his teenage fantasy, Soulja Boy's Crank That did even bigger numbers than what he'd expected, becoming the ringtone to everyone's 2007 summer. It went on to become the biggest dance craze since the Macarena, reaching #1 on Billboard's Hot 100 and selling millions of records, while Soulja Boy himself went on to become a teen idol sensation, cultivated by Collie Park and his label, Collie Park Music. Amid his rise to fame, we also got a chance to witness the guy who seemed to appear in a large portion of his music videos and overall music. His friend, A-Rap, was wherever Soulja was, appearing in videos like M.I.A, Bapes, and of course, Pass It to A-Rap, with the public quickly catching on to A-Rap being Soulja's right-hand man. What many may not have realized is that although we may have thought of A-Rap as Soulja's security blanket, he was much more involved than what you may think. Creating more than half of Soulja's music on the album that brought him and them major success, A-Rap aided in the creation of Soulja Boy as we knew him, and yet got paid nothing but pennies, peppermints, and lint. Born and bred from Chicago, A-Rap and Soulja entered each other's realities way back during high school in Batesville, Mississippi, and quickly became good friends. Getting the comical yet intriguing nickname of Part-Time A-Rap during those years by his school peers, the name A-Rap stuck and he and Soulja began bonding over their shared love of rap and music. The two decided to cultivate their own rap duo, calling themselves the 3030 Boys. Prior to the fame, the two began utilizing YouTube's website, posting their own music and videos online. Underground was where their careers sat, performing on the weekends while attending schools during the weekdays, and eventually A-Rap dropped out in exchange for a GED, with Soulja soon following his lead, now performing almost full-time. It wouldn't be until Soulja released his viral hit, Crank That he gets scoped out by producer Mr. Collie Park, who'd signed Soulja to his label. The deal? A-Rap had to come along for the ride. And so it was. During Soulja Boy's reign as BET's 106 and Park's favorite guest and video countdown charter, he was getting all the praise with A-Rap right alongside him. Wherever Soulja went, he was bound to get asked the "Where's A-Rap?" questions, and likewise wherever A-Rap went, he was bombarded with questions about Soulja. He did more than just rap a couple of verses on some of Soulja's biggest hits. He aided in the production process, came up with hooks, beats, and overall progression of the tracks. In their song Bapes, for example, the repetitive chorus breakdown, despite being rapped by Soulja, A-Rap cultivated it. By the time I, Soulja Boy Tell 'Em, Soulja Boy's second album came about, it was clear that A-Rap's involvement in the project and overall appearance decreased. Although we weren't seeing much of A-Rap being tugged along like Soulja's pet, no worries, because behind the scenes, he and Soulja were as tight as ever. Now signed to Soulja's own label, SODMG, or Stacks on Deck Money Gang, founded in 2004, A-Rap was busy whipping up his own mixtape, hoping to finally break out of Soulja Boy's grip and make a name for himself. But that never did quite happen. He continued on the label, basically being paid for being loyal to SOD, as well as a loyal friend, and it wouldn't be till around 2010 that their friendship began to dwindle. After touring with Soulja on Lil Wayne's Most Wanted tour, an incident occurred that semi-deterred their relationship, and their friendship was never really the same. While everyone was out getting hyped, A-Rap was back at the hotel playing G.I. Joe with 4 guns. Let me explain. A set of BB guns had been lying around belonging to both Wayne's and SODMG's artist. A-Rap mistakenly picked up one of the firearms and accidentally let off a round that ricocheted off of one wall, hitting a spray can out of all items in the room. As you'd expect, the spray lit the room up and unwillingly painted the entire hotel room. When Wayne's camp found out, they were not pleased, needless to say, and when Soulja discovered the mess, one thing led to another, and things got more out of hand than what it should have been. In their mind, this was another bill on top of the already heavy bill from the tour, but in A-Rap's mind, this was something he could pay off. Words were exchanged, Soulja in the midst telling A-Rap straight up that he no longer wanted him on tour, which A-Rap undeniably took to heart, knowing Lil Wayne was one of his ultimate faves, and the Most Wanted tour was something he had been looking forward to for the longest. It'd be in that moment that A-Rap foresaw his time with SODMG being steered in a whole nother direction, and he made the decision to never have someone else obtain that much power over him ever again. It'd be at this point that he knew his time with Stacks on Deck Money Gang was coming to an end. Going on to create his own label, Boss Money, A-Rap attempted to finally step out of the shadows of his longtime best mate to do this music thing all on his own. The decision didn't happen overnight, going through thick and thin with Soulja Boy whilst on Soulja's label, but knew it was something he'd yearned to do. The hotel incident was the final nail in the coffin, but prior to it, A-Rap thought long and hard about his decision for quite some time, citing business issues like never being compensated for Soulja Boy's first album, for example. He and the label went their separate ways, but that didn't mean his friendship with Soulja ceased to exist. Although he admits he hasn't spoken to Soulja in years, their faint departure has been more so of a growing up and out situation more than an actual falling out phase. A-Rap has dropped the name of his mixtape, BMF1, and has alluded to a bunch of other projects in the works. But as of right now, nothing much has come out, and you honestly can't find any of his socials online. A-Rap was once Soulja Boy's right-hand man, but like many BFFs that start at the bottom together with their more famous and favorite friend, he was eventually left never to be heard or seen from again. What the East Side Boys were to Lil Jon for a more mainstream reference, what Ryan Butler was to Justin Bieber, A-Rap was for Soulja. A great hype man and still one of the most loyal friends to ever exist. Oh yeah, and that whole Soulja Boy home invasion that inspired the Soulja Boy Challenge? According to A-Rap himself, and contrary to everyone's beliefs, all of that actually happened and isn't just some fairy tale Soulja Boy made up on the spot during that infamous Vlad TV interview. A-Rap insists on there being no bad blood between the two, but others seem to not be so convinced. All we can do is take his word for it. Despite him being more private than Area 51, he's still working on his music and continues to remain as loyal as ever. Would you be here for an A-Rap and Soulja reunion? Let us know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. And stay tuned for more true celebrity stories.